All right, we are live. So I'm just going to get it over to Facebook. Um, and edit. Ooh. All right, so I switched it over to public, so it should be good to go if you wanted to give that a quick share.
I could have my cousin do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm on my phone here. I need to
Yeah,
expand my
absolutely.
equipment.
I've just been talking about like updating some of my stuff. I'm like, oh, I need to like, even just like the mic stand and everything, like it changes like the image of it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I need all of that stuff, but it looks kind of cool.
Right.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I just got
totally.
a little stand and a mic and a light and stuff like that for my birthday.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
your lights on point tonight for sure. Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, I'm Kalisha Campbell, Casey from Pine Case. Tonight I am joined with Tiana Newell, if I'm saying that
You
correctly. I
go.
hope I am.
Yep.
It's so nice to actually get on here and chat with you. Honestly, I see, like, since I've breached the land of Facebook, I see your name everywhere. And I'm like, do you actually ever take some time to yourself? Like, what is going on here? You seem to just like, you navigate and narrate so many people's sobriety and well-being. It's breathtaking. It's absolutely breathtaking.
Thank you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can juggle, that's for sure. Like multitasking
Yeah.
is one of my specialties. I spent so many years and so much time just not okay, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to make up for it now.
Yeah, I think you've absolutely, like, you're definitely covering some ground for lost time. That goes without saying. And it's challenging sometimes, right? I know, like, when we waste time in active addiction, it's one of those like guilt things, but you've definitely gone above and beyond for,
Yeah.
you know, just, well, hundreds of, like, 100,000 people.
Yeah, and this all just kind of happened overnight. I was, one day I was just watching Josh's stuff and started following him, and then he started the group and made me a mod and then an admin, and then next thing I know, I'm just kind of talking to everybody. So
Yeah.
it's been
That's
amazing.
amazing. Do you feel like it contributes to your own sobriety? Like, does it kind of like hold you accountable?
Absolutely. Yeah, it gives me a whole new level of accountability.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I had to get and stay clean and sober for myself, but knowing that there's so many people watching me, including my son, it definitely helps. I don't want to let people down. I'm a little bit of a people pleaser that way. That's
Yeah.
sure contributed to my addiction. But
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely does help quite a bit. And I'm always
That's one.
busy.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have time to do anything, like, you don't have time to do anything bad. Like I said, I see your name everywhere. It's just amazing. Every time I go on to the group page, it absolutely like blows my mind that not only do you moderate, his personal page, right? But I guess it is a business page now, but also the group itself, like the initiative that you took with that. And it's like you've been with Josh since the beginning. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah, he made me a mod on the group, like the first day. He put it on Facebook. So yeah.
That is
I owe a lot
crazy.
of this to Josh, including, he helped save my life too. So
Mm.
I that's my go-to guy for recovery stuff. Well, him and Matt and Ben. That's
Yeah.
the big three.
Oh my gosh, what a show that was. My goodness. Did you help put that together?
It took me weeks, actually probably months, a couple months to get that all situated. And when I saw they were gonna be in the same place at the same time, I was like, oh, I gotta jump on that right now, right now. So I messaged them both. I'm like, hey, you guys are gonna be in the same place, same time. Can we make this work? They're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that was remarkable, especially us over here in the music world. I was like, this is one for the books. It's so necessary. It's so necessary for people to not only see the music, hear the music, but also see like the people behind the faces and know that it's not just, it's not just music. Like there's so much heart and soul that goes into that. And both of those guys, their stories are amazing, but they're just so articulate. And it's just such an honor to be a part of that movement where we get to expose that part of like our sobriety and recovery and all of that stuff. So
Right.
yeah, like, yeah, Well done for orchestrating that, because
Thank
yeah,
you.
that was definitely,
Thank you.
it was life changing for some of us to see them all in one place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I got really lucky to be able to do that. I had been wanting to do that. I wanted to be able to have a collaboration with them all, like, for a long, long time now. I mean, Josh, before I think he even started the page, he had asked people, "Hey, what do you guys want to see me do?" And people were like, "Well, it's collaboration." And he's like, "Well, if anybody knows, anybody that wants to, collaborate with me, or if they know how to get a hold of people that I might be interested in working with," I'm like, "Well, I don't really know them, but I'm gonna give it a shot." And all three of those guys, Josh, Ben, and Matt, they're so authentic and just
Mm,
generally good people, and they answer
yeah,
back. They interact with their followers. They're real people, and
yeah,
I think that's one of the things that makes it so effective
yeah.
in their influencing us and encouraging us, and it's just the whole movement. It definitely powers that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting. Like, it's one thing to make videos, pre-recorded videos, and it's one thing to make music videos and all that, but to like have the opportunity to comment and have them comment back. Like, I was fangirling out a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, hey," I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like, yeah, we can sit here and live our normal lives, from the comfort of our home, and have what essentially is a massive meeting. Like, and I think people don't understand that when we talk about recovery influencers, because you're one yourself, you have, I mean, separate from whatever Josh is doing, you absolutely have like your own following who are specific to you. I mean, it might be his page, but I know that there's people that are out there for you 100%, and that are cheering you on and stuff like that. So I'm going to rope you into that
I'm
when I
very
say
blessed.
recovery
Yeah.
influencers, because you are absolutely one of them. But yeah, it's amazing to be able to have a platform where we now can have the positives that come with like AA and NA and all that, but with like the kind of brass and sassy and realness that comes with interacting with people day in and day out, right? You don't really
Right.
say, yeah, like it's neat. It's really neat.
Yeah, you can't always like make it to a meeting, and those meetings don't work for everybody either.
Yeah.
I've been to plenty of meetings. And now I just go to support my friends to go to them, but it wasn't really my lane.
Yeah.
I Yeah, mine's a little bit different. I'm pro anything that helps you move forward and keeps you healthy. So if that's plant medicine, if that's MAP program, if that's abstinence, anything like that, do it. If
Yeah.
that works for you, do that.
Yeah, it's tough because I find myself like much like yourself, like you don't want to like promote or hate on anything, but for me, meetings were a massive trigger. I didn't realize that. I made a person a promise once and said that I would absolutely go. And what ended up happening was, because I have a parent who struggled, and they recited that that big Ukrainian looking book over and over again. Yeah, right. Like those go-to sayings for them, I didn't realize would trigger a whole bunch of childhood like trauma for me, because
Yeah,
you have people that use that as a way to help themselves, and then they would break their promise to their sobriety. So then you start associating some of the terminology and the ways of AA or NA with like really horrendous things. As a kid who grew up in a situation like that,
yeah.
I walked in and like white knuckled that meeting and was like, I did it to say that I did, but I'm not
Yeah.
comfortable there. Like yeah.
I don't like
So
the condemnation that comes with those meetings as well. On somebody's page, I saw somebody ask about any meetings in their area that weren't faith-based or weren't NA or AA, and
mm,
people just it was like a full-on attack. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, this is why they're asking this in the first place. Your
exactly.
blind, judgmental condemnation is doing nothing
Yeah.
but pushing them away from recovery and making them
Yeah.
want to run as far away from this kind of stuff as possible.
Yeah, I think yeah, exactly. We forget that especially with the comment section, that is the people that are looking in on the community, that we need to be like hyper aware of, the people that need the positivity and the reassurance and the guidance in that moment in a struggle, that don't need to see any reason to not go to anything. Like in Canada, I don't know if you guys have it down in the States, but we have something called Wellbriety, which is it's a First Nations take on a traditional meeting. So the religious aspect is completely out of it. It's obviously like hyper spirituality, which is great, but they really just honor the individual and
Yeah,
their
I can get
individual
down with something
journey.
like that. Yeah.
Hmm. Which is, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely where I took the kind of framework for Pine Case, because I was like, that's it. I mean, the structure of AA, they have it right for sure, but if we can change the content a little bit to kind of
Right.
be all cumbersome, like I think that's, which is totally what you guys are doing over with Scar Nation. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've taken just like a little bit of everything, and
Mhm.
it's all paths. And we're all trying to get to the same place. We all want to stay alive,
Yeah,
and we all want to see better for ourselves and other people.
yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly.
yeah, that's how we do it too.
Yeah, it's super important. So other than, I mean, if you actually have any time for yourself, what other things do you do to like make sure that you're staying on track that's like outside of the internet?
Um, my kid has baseball. I try to make it to as many of those games as I can. There's one Saturday that I'm gonna hit. So every weekend I go up to the prison and visit my boyfriend. And so this Saturday I'll get to stay up in that area and hit a couple baseball games at the same time. So
Very
and then I
cool.
help him with he does a lot of stuff for mental health and art in there.
Hmm.
So I try to, Google as much stuff for him as he needs. Sometimes he needs ideas on different, art projects, or if you're trying to do an event for visiting sessions, that kind of stuff, for decorating and all sorts of things. And right now he's trying to do an art class for mental health, and
Yeah.
showing exactly how you can improve your mental health through art. So
That is so, especially in a, oh gosh, especially in a situation like prison. First of all, like congrats to you, because being in a relationship like that would definitely test some serious boundaries, and the strength in a relationship, like so just even making the commitment to go and drive and do all of that stuff, I would imagine takes up a lot of your time. So I'm sure he
but it's
appreciates all
very
of
much
all.
worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, how have you guys been together for long?
Um, right about 7 months now, I think. 7, 8
Oh,
months.
okay.
Um, he's not getting out anytime soon, and I'm very well aware of all the difficulties that we're going to face in association with that. But he is by far probably the most positive, supportive, caring individual that I've probably ever met. He was a big part of helping me come through this last little battle with addiction that I had. And I
Mhm.
tried to get him like just yell at me, be mad at me, do something. And he's like, nope, that's not going to happen. So he refused. He didn't want to do anything that was going to put a wedge in there, and
Yeah,
he managed to help me get through it. Like, he didn't care if I was, shaking, if I was sweaty, if I was sick. Just loved me through it.
just loved you
So
through it. What do you like when you decided, and I'm going to be a little bit personal, but I'm just really curious. Like, was it even a second thought when you realized like how long he was going to be in there versus like how much energy you were willing to put into the relationship? Or were you just like, nope, this is my person, this is what's happening, and then whatever
that one,
happens after that
that's
is
what it
just a,
was. Yeah, because I had been with somebody else, and that did not work out. Like I told him it wouldn't. But
yeah.
um, as soon as I met my boyfriend, like I just knew. The very moment we started talking, we clicked. We've known each other for many lifetimes. It's one of those kind of situations. So
Oh, that's so beautiful.
yeah.
I read a book a while back and it was called Gargoyle, and it was about this couple who they met. He was like a porn star who burnt his nether regions off with like a bottle of vodka or whatever. He got in a car accident, and she was this chick in the psych ward. And it was interesting because I immediately identified with not only their relationship, but like, I mean, there's something that happens in chaos and trauma and drama that like facets the souls together in a way that having like, this kind of on the surface, everything is fine kind of relationship, right? Like you can't even hold a
Yeah.
torch to people that have gone through things compared to people who haven't. It's night and day.
Yeah, it's been pretty much that. It's not a trauma bond that we share, because I mean, yeah, we've been through a lot of the same things, but it's just probably the strongest connection that I've felt with anybody. And I've never done anything orthodox. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do everything as unorthodox and just off the beaten path as possible. Because it's pretty much in line with the way I've always done things.
With everything. So tell me more about this art project that he's got going on. So how did that come about? Like, was art something that he was interested in before he went in, or is this something that he's like,
Well,
oh, you know?
his talents blossomed in there because he was
Mhm.
able to give a lot more time to that kind of thing. He's been doing as much positive work as he can. He is like an advocate and a mental health support person in there for people. He makes cards for the Shriner kids every Christmas.
Oh
He
wow.
uh, he takes extra classes that he's not going to get out anytime soon. There's no reason for him to have to do these things, um, but he wants to do them anyways. He wants to try and contribute as much as he possibly can to society
Mhm.
because he knows that that's just what he wants to do.
That's so
So
it's interesting because a lot of people that don't have a loved one or who've never experienced being incarcerated themselves, there is definitely a difference between doing, easy time and hard time and good time and bad time. And there, you know what I mean? And it's really, I mean, it has a lot to do with the facility that they're in, but it also has a lot to do with your mental, your mental state, right? Like it's really easy to get caught up in the negativities. Not all, I don't know the story behind why he's in there, but I do know that, a lot of times, maybe the crime doesn't fit the sentence, or the person doesn't fit the crime, or the crime doesn't fit the person, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many
yeah,
things that can contribute to it. Some of it's unfair, like you guys have some crazy laws down there,
substances
like
and mental health was definitely a huge contributing factor to why he's in there. Substances and mental health. So
they need to revisit that. Like they need to revisit that so bad. When they started legalizing marijuana and things like that, I was like, what do you do with everybody that's in there on weed charges then? Did they
yeah,
just get stuck in there? Like that's just what it
I was a
is?
felon because of weed charges for a really long time. I was able to
Do
get that
they
expunged, but
You did get it expunged?
I did. Yeah, I'm now felony free.
Oh, okay, hold on. You have to tell me about this process. So originally, like once you a felony charge, man. Okay, you get a felony charge over some fucking weed?
Well, I was selling weed,
Oh,
so
okay.
in the town that I lived in, like, it's almost impossible to not be within 1,000 feet of a school because they count daycares, they count churches, they count everything. Anything, a place that a kid is going to be, they consider that a school. So you're within 1,000 feet of a school everywhere.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of a bullshit law then, because like how do you get away from that?
yeah, and they also do it as the crow flies. They don't do it like you have to go down the street and around the corner. No, it's as the crow flies. So
Interesting.
yeah, and they count seeds and stems and sticks. So I got over an ounce, distribution, 1,000 feet of a school, child endangerment.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Yeah, right. Only to turn around and be like, we're actually gonna like decriminalize this, and then we're gonna legalize it. And then you know what? The government's gonna sell it. So it's totally fine. Like,
Yeah, that happened. Oh, let's see. I got my charges probably 15 years ago now, almost 15 years ago, 14 years
yeah,
ago.
it's
And
a
I didn't get
lifetime
it
ago.
refunded until just this last year.
It sat on there for that long.
Yeah. I mean, I had to pay off my fines and that kind of stuff, but weed was just legalized for recreational use here in Oregon. I want to say 7 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that.
Mhm.
It hasn't been as long as it should be, but
Crazy.
yeah.
So how do you get that process going? Like once you realized that it was, because how do you even learn that that's an option? I wouldn't have even thought about it. Like you were like, no, I got to look into this, or like, do they reach out to you,
Yeah,
or like,
and
how
I've
does that
seen a few
happen?
ads and I've heard people talk about it and stuff. And my son's stepmom,
Yeah.
her father's a lawyer, so
Oh,
I
sweet.
talked to him about it. But I also like seen some ads where like the community college had a class and there was people that wanted you just send in your information and they'd see if you were eligible. And I had done that
Yeah.
a few times. It said I was, but I had to do a couple of things like pay my fines off and that kind of stuff. So I just kind of waited and waited, and then finally I talked to the lawyer, and
Yeah.
was able to get that all taken care of. It was a process, and it does cost a little bit of money. I mean, if you have to pay for an attorney, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but you can file the papers on your own. I would just
Yeah.
suggest having somebody that's a professional look over them for sure.
It's such a racket, hey? They just find any little way to like make sure they get every little penny out of everybody. Like,
Oh yeah, it's just like
yeah.
every the government doesn't do anything out of the goodwill of their hearts. It's all for money.
No,
Just like
no.
the prison system, it's not for rehabilitation. That's a business. That is a profit area only. They don't care. It's a business.
Amen to that. It's so ridiculous. It's really frustrating. I find it really frustrating when people talk about it like, it's supposed to well, in my opinion, you go there to pay your debt to society, right? So you get your charge, you go in, you pay your debt. So why we have criminal records after that? And I know that that's not going to be a very popular comment, and that's fine. Everyone can have their opinion, but once you pay your debt to society, that should be the end of the conversation. So
Yeah,
why
I mean,
it
there's some
continues?
charges that should probably follow people around and they need to be aware of. But the lesser charges, like mine, like my
Yeah.
felonies for weed and possession of paraphernalia and all that kind of stuff, it shouldn't follow people. It's just small that yeah, it should not. It's absolutely
Well, and it's
ridiculous.
it's crazy even that it's like attached. I know in Canada, like on the West Coast, there's been some reform about like possession, like what you can actually carry on you. I think it's at, I want to say 1.75 or like it's
Something like
not a,
that.
yeah, it's
Or,
maybe it's 2.5. I feel like it's not a half ball, it's a bit more than a half, or it's under a ball anyways. I don't know. I can't remember what
yeah.
the actual, someone I'm sure will say what it is. But and then there was like a bunch of argument like, okay, but now we're like asking people, like how do you decipher like if someone's carrying for themselves or if it's, if it's personal use or if they're distributing or whatever. And there was a bunch of argument about that. But the reality is like people are going to do what they're going to do, and the less that we fill the criminal system up with people that have to do with substances, the better off we're going to be. Like no one's going to get help in there. There's not a ton of reform in there, and then there's absolutely
So
no aftercare other than I think John Howard Society. Do you guys have John Howard Society down there?
I don't believe so. No. Well,
Mm,
here it's a lot of times they just get booted out and they don't even know what the world's like anymore. There's no preparation. There's no like you said, no aftercare. They give
yeah.
them I think it's a couple $100. I think it's like maybe $500 if that, and make sure they have food stamps and they just send them on their way.
Wait, you get paid to get to leave jail?
Well, after you catch up on all your fines and stuff like that, any money that you make in there or that is sent in, they
Right.
come and put it aside for if you're gonna be released.
Right. How does making money work in there? Like, can you explain that to me? Because I'm not really sure if we have the same system up here. So if you're talking about like money that you made like working
So
for the prison system?
the adults in custody, they can get jobs in there. There's jobs in the kitchen, the laundry, there's gardening, there's a lot of different stuff around the facility.
Mhm.
And they get paid and also like they'll have like say one of the hospitals they ship in their laundry and stuff like that for the prisoners to do.
What?
Yeah. One of the other
Wow.
the Oregon State Penitentiary, they have like a metal shop where they build like lockers and stuff like that, and all sorts of metalworking. But the guys get paid slave wages. It really is. I'm talking like $30 every 2 weeks, if that, sometimes.
What?
Yeah, there's no such thing as minimum wage in prison. It's just it's
There's
crazy.
no such thing as minimum wage in bartending either. Like, oh my God, I was a bartender for years and we don't get paid minimum wage, or we didn't get paid minimum wage. So I can only imagine that they would not honor any of that. I mean, why would they, right? Like, and I do think that they should take advantage, not take advantage. I do think they should utilize people working in there. It's good for the mind. You know what I mean? Feel a little bit
Gives them a
useful,
sense
but
of purpose, something to do.
yeah, totally. But like 30, I don't know, $30 every couple of weeks isn't a whole lot of incentive to really even want to go do it. Like, why?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's pretty
wild.
crazy.
That is crazy. So how do you have a relationship with somebody that you know is going to be in there for a little while? Like, what kind of things do you do to, like, has it just been kind of easy peasy or like, how does, yeah, like
We definitely
explain
have
that to
our
me. Cause
struggles. We have, our visits on the weekends. We usually
yeah.
go for things like 2.5, 3 hours each morning. I could go during the week, but I usually work. Every once in a while, I'll have a day off, and I'll hit the visiting sessions then. We do video visits and text messaging. They have little tablets in there you can message on, but it gets expensive. It's like 20. They charge us out here 25 cents to send each message. So
But do they have like are they available to it like at all times? Like is it just like having a phone where you can
no,
kind of like text back and forth?
between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. is when they're allowed to have the tablets. So
25 cents. There would be bills like I'd be remortgaging houses. Like,
yeah,
holy
I don't even
crap.
want to look. I don't even want to try to add up what I've spent on messaging because and my boyfriend's not the only person that I stay in contact with. I've got a nephew in prison. I've got several friends. It's it's pretty sad, and people
Yeah,
just drop off once you're out of sight, you're out of mind, and people just fall off and they don't stay in
yeah.
contact. And I can't do that to people. I just can't.
You got a heart of gold, hun, honestly. Like people, being inside, I've been there and I mean, for females, it's a little bit different because it's just automatic solitary confinement in city cells. There is no, like, there's no gen pop or anything like that. Like when you're sitting like remand, it's like, it's crazy. And if you don't get a hearing on time, or if for any reason they want to like, they're questioning any of the charges or situation or anything like that, they'll just let you sit there. So you're like sitting in solitaire, like whatever. And so just even in like short little periods of time, I can only imagine like multiplying that on like a grand scale and trying to have some sort of normal life in there, and then feeling like the people that you care about, or that your family that aren't responding or just
Yeah,
want to be involved. Like it would just so good for you for like making sure that
yeah. I
those people
can't
have
tell you
somebody
how
at
many
the end of the
times I'll
line.
I'll get a message or someone will call and be like, "Ah, "You're the only one that answers the phone." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, that's not gonna stop now because I'm the only one that answers the phone."
Oh man.
So
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, if they were going to, you know, monetize what happens with, because I mean, that's technically outreach. I know you would never call it that because those are people that you care about. But when you think about that, like, from an outsider looking in, like it's such a selfless act that you're doing. And I hope that you
thank you.
understand like this, how severe that is and how important that really is. Cause especially when it comes to mental health, like those text messages and just having somebody on the other line or on the phone, or somebody to like, send somebody that's responding via letter, like it really does stop people from maybe ultimately doing something that
It
isn't.
does. It really does. And I know what it feels like to feel unwanted or uncared about or like I don't exist. I've struggled with mental health for most of my life. I've been on every antidepressant you can think of, like even as a teenager. Actually, I was in counseling in grade school. My mom would put me in counseling. So
Right.
I've struggled with that my whole life, and it definitely contributed to my addiction issues. And I just don't want anybody to feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to treat people the way that I would want to be treated in their position.
Yeah.
So like I really appreciate you saying the things that you do, and people tell me that everything I'm doing is so incredible, but I just feel like that's what people should do. You know what I
it,
mean?
it
Like,
but it's not. It's just
yeah.
not. You know what I mean? And not only is it not what people are doing, it's not even like a standard. Like people, you know, um, I have conversations with people, even in the healthcare industry, that they're like, there's a whole movement online where people can like have kind of like counseling sessions, and there's, you know what I mean? Like they're like, what?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's crazy. Like they don't like that. Yeah, not only is it not expected, but it's not even like a thought for a lot of people. And the fact that you're just out there doing it like, tirelessly is, yeah, I have no problem bringing attention to it. I will scream it from the mountaintops for you, darling, because it's life changing and life saving. And it honestly is probably one of the biggest contributing factors to ending stigma. And I don't think a lot of people understand how important it is that the more that we talk about it and the more that we normalize loving each other and caring for each other, you
Mhm.
know, the smaller the stigma becomes, right? Like, I don't
Well,
know
and
what
the
your
fact of
deal
the
is.
matter is like anything can happen to any of us at any time. You know how easy it is to injure a person to the point where you get charges? or to do something just absentmindedly that will get you charges,
Yep.
that will send you to prison. I think the people out here are lucky they haven't been in. It's almost impossible to not go. You got to be really, really careful. Like, you run a red light accidentally because you're looking at your phone and you hit somebody and you kill them, that's a prison sentence. It can be.
How quickly life changes. That's the thing, is that I know somebody who did a serious amount of time for not robbing somebody. Like, how the you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they were caught leaving. So what? I'll tell you the story. They, you know, craziest childhood you'd ever imagine. Their mom was taken out over like a couple $100 drug debt on the back on a dirt road. He didn't stand a hope in hell. And you know, at this point, the graveyard has more of his loved ones in it than anybody else. Like, it's crazy. Okay. So the fact that he's still actually like a functioning or somewhat functioning human being is like shocking, you know,
Yeah.
but would never use any of those things as a reason to be shitty. He's like, if he's acting shitty, then he just chooses to be shitty that day. Would never ever bring any of that stuff into his decision making ever,
Yeah.
you know. Had a job to go do, and the description was one thing, and when he got there it was like an old guy with a grow show. And obviously if you're told that it's like, you know, a heavy, hard hitting, you know, someone slanging DOCs, that's not the same as like an old dude growing weed, right?
Right.
So he made the conscious decision to turn around and walk away from the scene and was like, I'm not, don't want any part of it. And caught 7 years for concealing his face, which ironically enough, right afterwards, COVID happened and everybody was concealing their face. So to get a 7-year charge for wearing something that covered your face when that's your only charge, to have to sit through COVID is like crazy. They weren't charged for breaking and entry. They weren't charged for assault. They weren't charged for theft, nothing. They were only charged for concealing their face. And they got 7 years, man. And so maybe not everybody would be put into that situation, but anybody could catch, concealing your face charge. And so it's like, it's crazy to me. And you know, you're absolutely right. Like, things happen that you don't expect. There's tons of people that get into car accidents. There's, you know, possession charges. We talk about that a little bit. It being more of a mental health than, you know, issue than a crime issue. Like, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. The fact that there isn't more people that are living normal lives that haven't been in there is so crazy. And I don't remember what the hell the point of this was, but the thing to me is that the fact that he went through all that and then was charged for something that you know, for leaving the scene and not for remaining on the scene, just goes to show like where we're at in the criminal justice
They
system.
punished
Like,
him for making a good choice,
for making a good choice.
for
Yeah.
doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's just insane to me.
Yeah.
What's even crazier is a lot of times the people running the institutions and stuff like that, they're just as criminal, if not more so, than the criminals that they're supposed to be helping rehabilitate.
Oh, that's a whole racket right there. What are you talking? Like, oh my gosh,
for days.
it's so crazy the amount of like drones that go in. I mean, I don't want to scream that too loudly, but the things that happen, like watching it. I mean, there was arguments that I was having with you know, the Canada Parole Board, and like, as soon as you they're all for whatever you're about, as long as everyone's comfortable in there, you know. And then they'll turn around and breach you over your 5 minutes later or whatever, just to throw you back in, like, you know, because it's 30 days to like go through the process to get bailed back out again. So people that don't understand that, you know, the Corrections Canada especially isn't a racket, like, it absolutely is, you know.
It
like
is,
even just,
they're planning on you coming back. They're betting on it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and this is, it's not really set up for success. I mean, we should have, you know, counseling and things like that set up for people on the outside, but just people that get bailed out. So here it's crazy. Like, you know, pay your debt back to society, right? And then say you have good behavior, so you get out early, but then you are on, you know, bail, and then trying to do that the hoop jumping for that is crazy. Like, normal people, and I say normal as in like the everyday run of the mill, just, you know, Suzanne and, you know, Craig or whatever, like, they can't, there's no way that they would successfully live in the guidelines that are that are parole.
Yeah, because then, like, how are you supposed to, you can't get a job if you have certain charges. If you're a felon, you can't get a job or an apartment. How are you going to make money? You're going to go back to what you know, and that's just going to
Yep.
put you right back in.
Exactly. Where are you supposed
Like,
to live? Where are you supposed to work? And then you got to like, check in, even like, oh my gosh, the phone calls, the going to your meetings and all of this stuff. Like, I mean, most people can't even do that trying to get like 4 kids to like soccer practice, and their schedule
yeah,
for being on the outside for the releases are way crazier than having like, 4 or 5 kids and a full-time job and
I was
like
on
I've
house
seen
arrest, and that was hard to maintain. Like, I couldn't
right.
even go to check my mail.
Right. That's you're like, I don't even have to go anywhere, and it's still crazy, but it's true
Yeah,
because you still are accountable, right? You still have to make sure you do your phone calls and your emails. And I think up here now they have like a text app that is all part of it. And it's like trying to keep track of all of that stuff. I don't know how you're supposed to do that, navigate that, be successful, but there's absolutely zero resources for things like counseling or,
yep,
job skills or resume writing or changing your fucking oil or whatever, like the things that actually are important to like get you through to some sort of like normalcy. It's just bizarre to me.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't even try to explain it. There's no way.
It's
It's such
crazy.
a
It's crazy.
broken
So
system.
yeah.
But
So what does it look like for you guys on the other side of this conversation? Like, do you have some plans? I don't know how long that he's in there for, but like, do you guys have some plans? Like, because it sounds like the art project on the inside, like, is that something that you can continue on the outside that we can take part in or
he
help
does.
you with? Or
He sends me art pretty often. Those are my gifts usually. Like for Christmas, I got um this vase and the flowers.
that's so,
This vase
that's
is
so
made out of soap, just soap. So it's
it is
bear with me.
absolutely
They're very ingenuitive and creative in there. But
resourceful.
very resourceful. Uh, the problem is that sometimes the administration will be paying a little too close attention, and if they're sending out art and it starts getting sold, they can get in trouble for that.
If it gets sold on the outside.
And then they get the proceeds from it. There's programs that they can sell it through the prisons and stuff like that, some of the things that they do, but if they do it around those programs, then they'll get in trouble.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So there's programs that are set up that they can sell their artwork through the
Yeah, they
prison
have a
system.
hobby shop at the one, and they do like wood burning. People, they make jewelry boxes, plaques, all sorts of really cool stuff.
Wow.
And they can be sold, but it has to be through the DOC.
Through the DOC. That's crazy. Yeah, okay. So it's kind of like black market stuff. It's like double black market stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but we're working on some stuff to see if, because he just wants a purpose,
Yeah.
other than just sitting somewhere running away. And art is his passion, and he wants to turn that into his purpose.
Yeah.
So we got some plans in the works. I can't really divulge too much right this second, but
No, absolutely not. And you definitely, yeah, don't put it out there if we can't put it out there. But know that, you have a massive community. We all are in this together. And like, as soon as anything is about to happen, obviously, you have a ton of supporters for sure.
I
Really cool.
appreciate that so much. It means the world, it really
No,
does.
no, of course, of course. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. Honestly, after talking with Josh, like we had that conversation, and I left that conversation being like, there's got to be a way for, because in Canada we don't really have a ton of recovery influencers. There's not really a space. Like I hang out with you guys more than I hang out with people up here when it comes to this particular topic. And then when I had an opportunity to chat with you, I was like, I think that maybe that would be the thing that I can branch out in a little bit more, because Pine Case is actually Pine Case Men's Mental Health and Music. And a lot of people don't know that, but it was made as a way to be an advocate for men's mental health, because quite honestly, and just like your partner, there's just not enough resources for them
There's
at
not.
all. And as you know, and as we were chatting, like before this and during this, I'm like, there's got to be a way that we can, like, I mean, supporting their art is one thing. We don't want to get anybody in trouble, but there has to be a way that we can team up on the outside to make sure that these guys have, you know, something to come out to, or something. Obviously, we can't
Yeah.
change like the way that the housing system is set up or anything, but I do think that there's ways to help with like resume writing, or like
Yeah,
professional
there it is.
presentation, or like something like that, right? Like, and who
Or
better
learn
to
how to do
do.
like interviewing skills. That's gonna be
Totally.
one of the things that it's most difficult for them, because they
Hmm.
feel like they're being interrogated, so they're not going to, you know, present. They're going to try to present themselves as the way they think people want to hear them be, and that's not going to get you a job always. So
and like, and that's what I mean, like if they're if you're sitting across from somebody and you have no experience, and they're like in a, you know, in a suit being like whatever, but like I honestly think there's a space for females, like I think there's a space for females to take initiative there, for them to be like, listen, like we can help with, you know, the professionalism that happens when you're looking at like employment. I think that that's, I don't know if you'd be willing to entertain it, but I've been kind of mulling it over in my head.
absolutely,
And
yeah, that's
and
a fantastic idea. I love that.
yeah, right? Because who wouldn't want to, like, who wouldn't want to click over even like long distance, like, because you know StreamYard's an easy it's an easy product to use. If they're clicked over and seeing someone that looked like someone they can relate to, look like you, look like me,
Yeah,
you know,
like
look like,
tattooed, and you know, just
totally, right? Like just chilling. I'm sitting here and like we're just
yeah,
chilling. We're chilling. I'm wearing my bracelets because I got like, you know, some trauma from being, you know what I mean? Like for real.
yeah,
Like I wear them like that because I have like some serious things I need to work through. Right? But if they can understand like where that feeling's coming from, I think that I honestly think that it would be a good pilot project to work on. You should,
yeah,
oh, Josh just
fantastic.
jumped in. Yeah, hey, Josh. But I think it would be a great space because I think the recovery community is amazing. And I think inside the recovery community, there is just like this, you know, people use because they have things that they've gone through and things that they need to work through.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of really rad chicks sitting on the other end of the table could definitely, we could make some movement in the world for them.
I've actually had a couple of guys that have gotten out since I got with my boyfriend reach out to me because, bless his heart, he tells everybody in there what I've got going on out here with Scar Nation and stuff. And he's like, I
Yeah.
know you're in here because of drugs, man. I know you're going to struggle out there. So if you start having a hard time, hit up my girl, you know, or go check
Yes.
out Scar Nation on Facebook. And I'm like, hell yes. And I've answered, I don't know how many people that have done that. And there's the one guy, he's like, oh, I'm having a hard time finding a job. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of skills do you have? And I'll talk him through stuff, and I'll send him certain directions. I'm like, well, let me see your resume, you know, that kind of stuff. And I've done a little
So
bit of
you're
help,
already doing it then.
a little bit here and there, you know, just encouraging them. You know, I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. I know things are hard right now, but you can do hard things. I know you can. You just got out of prison. How hard is that?
Yeah.
So if you can make it through that and get out, you can do this. I know you can.
Mm.
And you can stay clean and sober. It's possible.
Yeah, you already got the counseling part down, right? Like, I mean, you were making me believe in myself sitting there listening to that. And that's it. Like that's
You're
all
an
people need
absolute
to.
rock. I was actually, after I watched the live or the podcast you did with Josh, I was talking to my friend Gino, and I was like, man, I would love to be on her show. She's so cool, and like I love her vibe. And I was like, man, I want to reach out to her, but I'm scared. And he's like, just do it. So I was sitting there in the car, and I shot you a message in the middle of the day, and you answered right back, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got so excited, like
Yeah.
fangirled out a little bit.
Yeah, it's not very often I'm not in front of my phone, honestly. Lately, I've been like attached to it, trying, because there's a couple of things, a couple of little side projects that I've been like, you know, Calico and I've been working on, and a couple of really cool people that are going to sit down and, yeah, there she is, sit down in the space that you're in, that we're really excited for. Some goals of mine that that I can't quite talk about yet, but like some musicians that uh, it's gonna rock. It'll rock my world. But I say all of that to say this: if it's not for conversations that happen like this, those conversations wouldn't happen. And those
Right.
conversations are easy because it's easy to talk about music, but it's the hurt and the grit and the struggle that is what is happening here. Like, that's why music has a place.
Yeah.
It's why people write music. It's why people, are going out there and doing big things and jumping out of planes, and why people, like Josh, are going live. Like, we're doing it because originally there was a problem, right? And so to not say something to somebody as real as you, like that, first of all, it wouldn't do me any favors, but I definitely like relate to you in a lot of ways. Like, I've been following you for a hot second and was absolutely flattered to see you pop up and reach out. I was like, hell yeah, we got to figure out how to do
I
this.
know, I was just shocked when you knew who I was, when I had messaged about my tattoo and Josh's appearance. I was like, oh my god, she knows who I am.
Girl, you're out there. Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, I don't think you understand. Like I said, we're up in Canada, so it's a bit different for us. Like, we look down at the States and you guys have like a massive thing going. But yeah, no, I'm absolutely flattered, and I appreciate and honored that you took the time to chat with me tonight. Yeah. Absolutely. And thanks for talking like jail stuff with me, because I don't have anybody to kiki about that. And I think that if there's a way to have like a platform that's specific to them, I think it'll be super, super, fun. I think it would be a massive attachment to all the projects that are already happening, to make sure that those,
and I can bring the recovery stuff into it, because drugs are a real problem inside too.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
been so many ODs on fentanyl in Oregon prisons. They're trying to keep it hush hush. But I get messages all the time, man, they just had Narcan somebody, man, this dude just, fell out. It's so scary. It's so scary.
That's, well, and that goes, I mean, all I can think about is the guards.
Pretty much anything. I don't really have any, taboo subject matter.
No.
Not gonna do anybody. Like, man.
35 people OD'd and died in my hometown last September. I was trying to celebrate, some things that happened in my life in September. I've lost 2 brothers to overdoses. I've buried 3 of my siblings. Like, it is not something that I take lightly. Like, like Pine Cases, we have a scholarship anniversary program because of a couple of friends that have taken their life. And like, so when we say mental health, it's like all encompassing. But yeah, when fentanyl hit my hometown, it cleaned house in the most horrific way. And it's like, the big cities, obviously they get it, and it's bad. But when you have these small communities, especially because it backs into like 3 different bands, so like the First Nation community kind of is on, like, wraps all the way around that town. When it hit, it was like everybody knew somebody, and it was one service after another. I moved out to Alberta. I actually had like a conditional release plan, so that's a whole other thing. But so I was kind of stripped away from it, like not really ready to go, and I sat back for the last like 4 or 5 years. And I would be damned if I think we've gone a whole month without somebody like in my my personal
I can't
space.
go a week without hearing about somebody.
It's bad.
I carry Narcan in my car. I've got the injectable in my car. We've got Narcan in the bathroom here. Like, if I can get my hands on a quantity of it, I'll be handing that shit out like candy. Here, take 2. They're small.
Yeah, I have some right here. We actually did, I don't know what your guys' cases look like, but we have these ones are the injectable ones.
Take my keys and go right out to the car and get the Narcan for me real quick.
Yeah, we can do a quick demo for everyone that's on. The Shoppers Drug Mart gives them out up here, but you got to sign for them. I'm still trying to figure out a way to get myself I need like a big box of them, because it's festival season's coming up and we're going to do some harm reduction. So I need to find like a good sponsor for some even just the injectable ones. I know the nasal sprays are like, they're a bit pricey, but I'll take whatever I can get my hands on for festival season for sure.
I didn't even know that they handed out the injectable kind, and I was super stoked to get my hands on one. Super stoked.
Yeah.
If you're not breathing, it's going to get into your sinuses and you'll absorb it subcutaneously, through the membrane and stuff.
Yeah.
But that might not, do it, because you're not breathing it in. It can just run out.
How the hell have I never thought about that before? Like, what are yeah, I never actually thought about, if you're already on your way out, like, that's not helpful.
Yeah. So luckily it does get absorbed, through the membranes and stuff, but I just feel like the injectable it's like an EpiPen.
It is like an EpiPen.
But in anaphylactic shock, then you don't have them breathe in something because they can't breathe.
That's crazy. Yeah, I never really thought about that because in Canada we just there's yours. Hey,
And it's a hard case. This actually turns into a sharps container.
that's flippin' genius.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, it's a sharps container also.
Wow. Yeah, that's super smart. So ours are like, or the one that I have is like this. It's a little zipped up container that like opens up. I just emptied it. And a lot of the times it turns into like somebody's kit because it's like,
Grab the measles, please.
like a little like kind of hard, semi-hard container. So what does your kit have in it?
So it has syringes.
Yeah.
And it has a couple of vials of Narcan. It's just 0.4 milligrams. It's a single dose per vial. But there's a few vials in there. And then here's where it turns into a sharps container. You put the it's kind of like pushes in right there. I can see it very well.
Yeah, that's where Canada needs to get it together because that is super smart. So ours doesn't have that. So the same thing. Do you guys have the retractable syringes?
I don't. These might be. I haven't actually had to use it, thankfully. Let me see. It doesn't say whether it's retractable or not. I'm thinking
it's probably not, just because it turns into a sharps container. So ours up here, I think I have one open. I don't really want to open up a new one, but yeah. So ours up here, they turn. So once you've used them, they actually, so you can kind of see right here, they have like a spring. It actually snaps back into itself so that there's no sharp object sticking out.
Those are super cool. Those are super cool. I encountered those. So I was type 2 diabetic, but I got to the point where I was on insulin. I was almost 400 pounds. Actually, I was over 400 pounds at one point. And the first time I used one of those to give myself an insulin injection, I like almost shit myself. I'm like, oh, where did it go? Push the plunger, and all of a sudden it's gone. I'm like, shit, it broke. I'm like, oh no, it didn't. Never mind. I'm good.
Oh, that's crazy. And so I don't know, I've actually had like naloxone training. So it was part of a first aid course that I took a long time ago. But we were told, and I'm going to say this because I'm going to take every opportunity that I can. If somebody goes down and they're overdosing, it is not going to hurt somebody who is not overdosing on anything else. So if you see somebody go down and you're questioning doing it, just do it, because if it's not opiates, it's not going to hurt them. The lady that did my demonstration was actually pregnant, and I don't know how many times she had been tested to make sure that this was safe. I'm sure the FDA has done the rigmarole, but the reality is that like she was confident enough in that time to actually give it to herself while she was pregnant, which was enough for me to believe that it was good to go. So yeah, you can't hurt anybody that's not on opiates. And although it comes with, I think your kit probably comes with like gloves and alcohol and all that stuff. And although the kits come with that stuff, it's life or death. So if you need to go straight through somebody's clothes, just hit them right through their clothes. You don't,
through it.
You don't need to find
the nasal spray kind. They actually teach how to use this at the high school here. When I brought this home, I'm sitting here and told my son, I'm like, okay, well, we need to have a talk. If anything happens, we have this. And he's like, yeah, I know how to use it. I'm like, how the hell do you know how to use it? Because you roll like that? Is that what you do? And he's like, no, they just taught us how to do it at school. They said, if you can't tell the breathing, you put your finger or a mirror under their nose, and then you spray it up. And I'm like, well, shit.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but they teach it at the schools now.
That's wild. I definitely, like, when I first heard that they were doing it at schools, I had some mixed feelings because I'm like, it's not my kid's responsibility, blah, blah, blah. Like, as any parent would, you're like, what? Wait a second. Right. But once you go down and kind of check out what's happening downtown at the safe injection sites and you realize that it's kids down there, then having it being taught in schools, just like sex ed, it's important. It's absolutely important. It's not, I mean, Opiates, they are not discriminatory. They do not give a shit what gender, race, age you
No.
are. Like, it is hitting everybody like crazy. And when
And
they
the thing
started
is, like,
talking,
people are over in Idaho. My boss had messaged me, and she's like, I don't know if you go to dispensaries or anything like that, but don't buy your weed on the street. Like, we've had 3 kids overdose on fentanyl because they got weed from somebody and it had fentanyl. I'm guessing it's probably because they weighted up on the same scale. Would be
yeah,
my guess. It wasn't intentional.
no.
But they're pressing those pills to look like Xanax. They're looking like, perks that you can't tell. And a kid is not going to give like their best friend a Xanax expecting it to be fentanyl. They're just not.
Thank you for bringing that up, because the fact that people think that we're out here trying to kill each other, like, that's just not the case. First of all, it's not good for business. And two, like, friends aren't doing that. People aren't doing that to each other. That's not what's happening. Obviously, a big portion of them is accidental. Like you said, a lot of the times it's like the same scale. So you have to expect that, people that are out there selling stuff, they're not, I mean, a lot of them are really cautious, but not everybody. So you can't rely on that. And then the pressed pills, like, we had Mean Greens up here. They were like the 80 milligram Oxycontins. I think you guys have like the fake perks more than
Yeah, ours are blue. A lot
anything,
of them are
right?
blue. I
Yeah.
actually got into an argument with somebody on a post. They're like, oh well, if you know your pills, you can tell the difference.
No, you
Bruh,
can't.
no. I
No.
worked as a CNA. I've been in nursing. I worked in the medical field for a good majority of my life, and I was a junkie.
Yeah,
I know my
exactly. Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah.
And at
Yeah.
first glance, you can't tell. You
No.
cannot tell.
Or
So
even like, up until, thankfully, when they started making them like the chew ones, like, that really helped, because you know what I mean? Like, the ones that are pressed up here, obviously they like snap and powder and you can, like,
mm,
crush them up. So once they made them like the chew, like the hard kind of jelly, whatever they put in them, like, that really
yeah,
helped. But you can't tell that until it's like in your
yeah,
mouth, or like, you know what I mean, until you're dealing with it. So it's, yeah, if it's fentanyl or whatever. But the pills that I've seen, like, I mean, you could have them all in the same jar and there's no way you could tell the difference.
yeah.
There's no way.
Every once in a while, there's a little bit of a shade deviation. Somewhere like a little more teal than blue or something like that. But
Oh God. But like,
you
who's
can't
paying attention?
tell.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
it's craziness.
So,
Well, thanks for doing like a quick naloxone demo with me.
yeah.
I take any opportunity to do that. I'm like,
Totally.
tell the kids, tell everybody, man. You know what? When I brought this home, the first response that I got, because not everybody lives the lifestyle. The first response that I got was like, should I be worried? What is that? And I'm like, wait a second. People don't know what this is. Like, there's
Right.
actually like there's a whole other life outside of, like, what do you mean? Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
who are you people? What are you talking about? You know what this is? But the
Yeah.
reality is that, like, a lot of people don't know what it is. They see hashtag naloxone or hashtag Narcan saves lives, and they're like, I don't want to be affiliated with drug stuff, or I don't want to be associated with this and with that. And I'm like, you guys, it's
It's
like,
everywhere.
okay, it is, but it's honestly, it's out there. Like, it's there for a reason. We need to get the information out there. So yeah, thanks for doing that with
It's
me,
like the
because I'm
AED, like
shameless.
where they have, these little stations all over the place. If
Yep.
if someone goes down for a heart attack or something like that, you grab the, defibrillator.
Yeah.
Well, this is a thing. Same
Yeah.
thing. They need to be everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully, I don't know, with every hashtag and every live stream and every conversation, every comment, I feel like we're getting closer and closer to the goals. Thank you so much, seriously, Ty, for being a part of that, and for coming on here and chatting with me, and
Thank you for having me.
giving me the
Yeah, I could talk to you
opportunity.
for hours. Like, I was in counseling for 5 years straight. Oh, well, actually, over 5 years, weekly counseling, and I think this kind of stuff is even more helpful in some ways. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, I definitely, I get more out of it for sure. And much like yourself, it makes me feel accountable. It's so funny because I have people in my personal life that are like, oh my God, I seen one of your reels the other day. Like, it's so nice to know what you're doing. And I'm like, it's so nice to be in a space where I'm not worried that people know what I'm doing. You know what I
Right?
mean? Like, it's been a long time since
Exactly.
I'm like, yeah, where I'm like, oh, you did? Cool. Like, it's like, not like, oh, I seen your mugshot or whatever.
Yeah. Saw you on the roster, or saw you in the newspaper.
Yeah, did you miss your court date? Whatever. That's too funny. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Calico just jumped on here and said, thank you for all the info tonight, ladies. Yeah. Any
Absolutely.
anytime, honestly. I think it's so important. And if you have, I mean, I can't imagine that you do have the time, but once we step out of here and we have a hot second to chat, if you want to throw some ideas around about maybe building like a quick little package for some of these guys. It sounds like you're dealing with them, just as much as I am. Like, we'll come up with some sort of like welcome package, welcome back to the streets or whatever, where they can come and do. I would be happily do live, some like quick podcast or webinar or whatever, where they can come in and chat, and we'll run through
Absolutely, that's a fantastic idea. And then if there's anything I can ever help with, or I'm here.
Yeah,
Hit me
thank
up.
you so much.
If I don't answer
Yeah.
right away, I might be sleeping. I get up at 5 a.m. every day though, 7 days a week, 5:30. So
Yeah, no,
I will
it's
always answer people. Always.
oh, that's so awesome. That's good to know. Yeah, good to know. All right, you guys, we're gonna wrap it up. That makes an hour. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Ty. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your hard work.
It's an honor.
It was absolutely my pleasure. Keep fighting the good fight. You definitely have an ally in us over at Pine Case. I know I can speak for Calico and I both. It definitely makes a difference. It's nice to see a fierce female doing the thing too in a world full of dudes.
Yeah.
My goodness, the recovery world is hilarious. But yeah, we definitely got to carve it out. And yeah, just like Calico said, much respect.
Back at you. Thank you.
All right, we'll chat soon, hon. Take care.
All right, folks. Have a great night.
Night. Okay.